Hello everyone, my name is Carlos. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be discussing some ins and outs about volume training on a volume progression training block, where within this block we start off with low weights and with a set amount of volume increase through the coming weeks, increasing the reps without necessarily increasing the weight and maintaining the sets at a standard 5 sets per exercise. So, this is our third week of initiating a cut. These two go pretty much hand in hand, trying to maintain as much muscle size and muscle volume while in a calorie deficit. So, first things with the diet, maintaining a fairly limited deficit between 300 and 500 calories per day, weighing out our protein sources and our carbohydrate sources, and with very little or no added fats, bringing us to about a daily total of 60 grams of fat, between 150 and 250 grams of carbohydrate on normal days, and approximately 225 grams of protein. So, along with that, we're doing minimal cardio. We're not using cardio to expend energy and burn calories, but to maintain an active recuperation on rest days, to stimulate our breathing, and sort of as a meditative, recuperative sort of treatment, if you want to call it that. I avoid calorie burn with the cardio at this stage. I'm not saying never do it. I'm just saying at this particular stage it's not needed, and we're using the calorie deficit and the initial push from our surplus calorie stage to lose weight. That being said, in the very first stages of any initial weight loss, you usually drop some significant amount of weight. I dropped 12 pounds in less than 15 days. Now it has stabilized. It's been dropping like a quarter pound every day from 195 and a half. Today we're down to 193.8. It's a steady, very slow drop, which is how it should go after the initial drop, where you usually drop water, some glycogen, some body fat, and a great deal of internal food, because your food volume comes down, the food sources change, and so there is a very quick initial drop. Once you hit that sort of semi-plateau, you know that you're entering your rigorous fat loss phase, where everything that you lose should be body fat. You won't be losing too much water anymore, or else you'll be dehydrated. So your water is sort of maintained in a stasis. Your calories are very, just below deficit. You don't want to go too high on the deficit at this point after your initial phase. You want to make this now sustainable for the next 2 or 3 months. You don't want to do anything severe, because the name of the game in the calorie deficit is to preserve muscle mass. Anybody can lose weight. Just stop eating for a few weeks and you'll drop weight drastically, mostly muscle. Your physique will look like dog shit, and that's not what you want to do. You want to preserve as much muscle as you can on the deficit. So that's what we're doing there. Now, with the exercise selection, as a contrast with the heavy, high weight scheme, where we use very low volume and feeder sets to approach our top heavy sets. In this particular phase, we do a lot more volume. We're not interested in fatigue for our last sets. As a matter of fact, we leave our compounds for last. Always leave the compounds for last, and I'll explain why. So, for the start of the workout, always start out with a 15-minute treadmill or any type of aerobic activity to get your core body temperature up and your breathing in sync. Your breathing has a great deal to do with getting into what we call the zone. Zoning is primarily a function of breathing. If you know how to breathe correctly in your warm-up, you will zone better in your exercises. You'll tune out all external distractions, and you'll be able to focus and stay in the moment. And this is very important on volume extensive routines, especially where we're moving from one exercise to another with very little rest, with a great deal of different exercises. And so there's a lot of variation. You have to maintain focus. You can't be distracted talking to people and conversing and just looking at your phone and kind of spacing out. With these type of routines, any type of routine really requires you to maintain focus, but especially this one, because it's easier to become distracted. Okay, so we start off with the abdominals. Always you know, with this particular exercise selection, which is arms, delts, and back, I like to include the abs. And I, get them out of the way first, although I particularly enjoy doing my abdominals. We're going to strive to do weighted abdominals very much in a weightlifting form. Although we do start out on a steep incline with just our body weight, we soon work up into a 10-pound disc, a 20-pound disc, and that's where I am right now is with the 20-pound disc. I think I just got 3 reps. We're going to work it up to 8, and then soon we'll be using a barbell with no weights, and then just moving it up until we can do. The idea is to do on the steep incline, be able to do between 60 and 70 pounds, which is not really that much weight, but it's enough to where if you can do reps on a steep incline with that weight, you will build deep separation in the muscles. From there, went to the hanging abdominals. Hanging abdominals has to be one of the most effective abdominal exercises, although there is a caveat. You really have to focus on the mind muscle, or else your psoas, your hip flexors, even your quads, a lot of other muscles can become involved. And so it is important to find just the right angle to crunch it at the top to really make a focus of the mind muscle connection. Okay, from there we went straight into our arm session. Did biceps curls. Last week it was just with the 50-pound bar. Today it's with the 60s. Did 5 sets of 10 reps with minimal rest. 45 seconds, 30 seconds on the last set. Gave it a minute. Okay. From there we went to the triceps extension, the lying triceps extension. Not the strict skull crusher down to the bridge of your nose, just slightly behind your head, to get a little bit extra stretch into your tricep, and then bring it up, not forward over your eyes, but try to keep it back a little bit to maintain the pressure on the triceps. Didn't feel completely well on the elbow. A little bit of pain on the elbow, and I think it's from the assisted dips. Don't know, still have to figure that out. So I didn't want to do my 5 sets on the extension. I figured I might be pushing it, so I did the rope extensions instead. The rope extensions are great. Did those with 44 pounds, not really too much weight, just really focusing on maintaining the rope apart, like you try to stretch it out and then twist it out at the end. So you're doing, it's much like the biceps where you're doing the supination at the end. On the triceps, you do the complete contrary. You do an extension, and move the arm out. You move the hand position out, and that gives it a great crunch. Did 5 sets of those, then went to the rear military press. Before I was doing these with significant amount of weight, I think 1.5 plates, 2 plates, and since the pec tear and just changing our training block, it's back to square one with some of these exercises. It's no big deal. We're not going to lose muscle. It's just like a few weeks in any case. So started out with just the bar, and then with a 5 kilo and a 10 kilo. So the 10 kilo was a 5 kilo up from last week. We did the 5 sets of 10 reps with those, and it felt awesome. Just bringing it all the way down. I know there's a debate, like how low should you go? Some people say 90 degrees is fine. That's not enough for me. Bring it down a little bit more, still not enough. I like to bring it all the way down. So there is an extreme range of motion. It is a lightweight. You can do it. It helps with mobility. It helps with a lot of, just getting the shoulder limber, I guess, if that's the proper word to use. Anyways, it's working for me. I see myself going up in weight next week, although the idea is not to go up in weight too quickly. We did hit the 10 reps with the 5 sets, so it is, do we have to go up? Don't want to do 12 reps on those. No. So from there, we went to the side laterals. These side laterals are great. I was doing them with 50 pounds before, struggling, really, trying to get strength on there. Now it's vacation time. We're doing with 20s, 25s, and 30s, trying to get, 20 reps, 15 reps, 12 reps. Awesome sets, felt really good. Anytime you're able to completely ace a movement, it is a struggle in the sense that you have to get through the set. But it's not so hard that it's just so grueling from the start, and it's like, it's one of the hardest things, and it's just, you have to give it your all every single set. No, it's doable, it's fun, you can get the pump, you can concentrate, play around with a little bit. For sure, just take very short rest between those sets. When you're doing these side laterals with a reasonable weight, there's no reason to rest for more than 45 seconds. 20 to 30 seconds is great to get the pump. From there, finished off with with the T-bar. Okay, so I had an extensive exercise selection for the back today. I was going to do the Smith rows and the Smith RDLs, but the Smith machine was like there was a line of people ready, waiting to use it. A fellow at the gym happened to have the T-bar set up, free weight, so I said, let's just go for it. So I spent some sets doing T-bar rows. And, every time I do these T-bars, I'm reminded why it's such a freaking effective exercise. Gets me gassed, gets me winded as if it was a squat or a true deadlift. It's like, why? Because the muscles use so much oxygen. And why? It looks like a very limited range of motion exercise. Even though the arm is really moving, the back doesn't. But let me tell you, again, I say this on every single video that I do on the T-bar. It's one of the most effective exercises you can do for your entire back. Like even from the insertion of the erectors all the way to the traps, and especially the mid-back, the central mid-back, to give it that 3D where it's like the Sagittarius, what is that dinosaur with the things sticking out on the back, The muscles become more popped with the T-bar. It's a very highly effective exercise. I love doing them. The only reason I don't do them is because I get sick of them sometimes. They're so hard to do. Like, when I go up in weight, I'll go up up to 350 pounds. And, when I do that, I just want to give it a rest for a few months, and that's exactly back to square one, right? It's always a cycle with these things, but that's what keeps it fun. I don't always do the same freaking exercise, month after month, year after year. It's always good to mix it up a little bit. Now, that being said, these exercises, when you do decide on an exercise selection and combination, you should stick with them for at least 6 weeks so you can get some results. Like, you'll start seeing results if you're putting in like the hard volume on each session. 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to start seeing results. But for the adaptation to occur, it's good to give it at least 6 weeks. 8 weeks is great. 12 weeks is a little bit too much for me at this stage. I don't think the body, takes that long to adapt. I mean, you can really, if you're doing the hard work, if you're really stimulating it properly, it doesn't take that long. Unless you're making killer progress, you don't want to interrupt your progress, which is why I took my PR block to 5 months. What was it, 20 weeks? Because at week 12, I was still making linear progressions. Like every single week I would come in and, one more rep, a little bit more weight on the squat, And on the squat, I started off with 335. And then at the end, I was up to 425 doing reps. It was like never ending. It was like just continuing until up here, I just said, no more. My knee started to hurt. I was fatigued. I was getting up like cranky in the morning. I wasn't completely rested. I wasn't really excited about going and doing that shit again. It was like, oh my God, no. What? 400 wet pounds today? I don't think so. I want to go to a sauna, just hang out in a park or so. I don't want to do that. There's times when it's just like too much. But I took it to like 5 months, right? 5 months of that. Because as I again, state, when you're making progression, you really shouldn't stop the progression. Just continue. Now, if you hit walls and shit like that, it's time to change. It's perfectly legit to change. So what else can we discuss in this, again, the food, I guess back to the cut, just maintaining that deficit. Now, the most important thing, again, about maintaining a deficit is maintaining a deficit. You don't have cheat days. You don't go splurge. It's like you're strict on the ball for at least, until you hit a significant plateau. Like if you are more than 7, 8, 10 days and you're not seeing any change on the weight scale, and your energy is lagging and something's happening, you're becoming stale, then you have to change it up a little bit. Cheat meal, a couple of cheats and, more calories, maybe a maintenance phase for 10 to 12 days. Now, this is what separates amateurs from people who really know their shit, is your ability to glide in between these schemes seamlessly. You can seg from maintenance into a deficit, back into a maintenance, and you don't have to spend months. You can spend until you know that your metabolism has been reset. It doesn't take 3 months. It could be like 12 days, 13 days and a half. I don't know. It's like you get in tune with your body. You know you're okay. Again, the deficit, and boom, 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 boom. Because you should stay, like if you decided to go on a deficit and go really low body fat and peel down, show your abs, show your veins and everything, you have to commit for a certain period of time. And that is usually no less than 4 months. Now, if you achieve your goal in 3 months, you still have another month where you have to maintain that low depletion type of stage, and that's where you start getting really good. And because you do have to be depleted at a certain stage to get that look. And once you hit there and get there, then you load up, you do your water manipulation, and you look freaking awesome if everything goes according to plan. So that's and it should go according to plan if you adhere. If you know that you have stayed on point with your food, if you know, and you know this, that you are on point, then the modifications and the adjustments that you do will all work, and you will see this thing through. Number one is adherence. You can adhere to it, you will succeed. God bless everybody, and until next time.
there.